It's learning to love regardless of the conditions, because I have the ability to focus in a way that I'm in vibrational alignment with love. From her point of view, nothing is more annoying, and many of you know this, than to be in a place of negative emotion and to have some bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, sunshine, rainbow, lollipop person flapping in your face about how you should cheer up and how you create your own reality. You just want to say, it can't be true or you'd be dead. In other words, you really don't, it is as annoying for her in her sadness to have you happy, 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 as it is for you in your happy to have her sad, sad, sad. In other words, they are vibrational frequencies that do not go together. And law of attraction would not put you together if you did not feel the familiar commitment of family. In other words, you said it. You said the biggest problem we have is with the people that we love the most. And so your love or desire to love them sucks you in, and then you just get in there and you take potluck. And completely. What we would say to any of you is we would never set ourselves up for potluck again. We would practice the vibration of mother. We would practice the vibration of brother. We would train ourselves in to a vibration about anybody that we have to spend time with or that we're likely to spend time with. We'd train ourselves into a vibration that feels good when we're there. And then law of attraction must give that part of them to you. It must. And you will see relationships transforming all over the place around you. You can go to a restaurant today. You can go to a restaurant and pick out someone who is your waiter and take them at face value for just a moment and notice what they are about. They're smiling, they're not, they're efficient, they're not. In other words, just take them as they are for just a moment until you get a dose of what the universe has delivered to you. And then sit there together with your paper and literally together write a sequence of positive aspects as far as you can see them or imagine them about them. Compliment them in your mind for being here at work. Thank them for their willingness to provide this valuable service for you. Feel appreciation for their appearance, or in other words, just look for things and make the list, and then watch the difference right before your eyes of the way they begin to respond to you. In seconds, you can transform relationships. And the hardest, now that's easy. That's a stranger because you don't know what they said to their wife yesterday. You don't know that they beat their dog when they were 12. You don't know that they tore the wings off flies. In other words, you don't know anything about them. You only know what little bit you are perceiving. And so it's easy for you to make your list of positive aspects. It's easy to vibrate in vibrational alignment with who you really are with people that you don't know very well. But those people with whom you have long history, you've got a scar relative to that, don't you? In other words, you have a vibrational memory that you have to replace with something that is new. 30 days is the most we have ever seen it need to take. You don't have to be patient when you've got vibration, the law of attraction on your side. In other words, when you care about how you feel and you're willing to line up your energy, you can find that newfound vibration. So here's another thing that we notice is that the majority of sadness that most people feel over the people in their life is not as a result of what's happening right now in their experience. Right. It's the stuff they're remembering. It's the stuff they're imagining. It's the stuff you're playing over and over and over in your mind. In other words, one woman, we teased her. She was talking about someone she was having a hard time with, and we began looking under her chair. We thought that maybe the person had snuck in the room with her and was here giving her a hard time. Yeah. And the person was nowhere near her. She hadn't even seen her in months, but she was still aggravated in her energy over this, you see. And so once you show yourself that you can clean up your vibration about anything, then you will improve your relationships with them. And then when you're not mad about her sadness, you've got something to give her. When you don't feel threatened by her sadness. And really, that's the thing. It's hard to hear, but we really want to say it. The reason that most people don't want to be around people who are in a place of negative emotion is that you feel like you've dragged yourself out of it and you don't want to go back. And so you resent everybody that's there. But once you've learned the forking technique, once you've learned the closing the gap technique, once you understand that you're eternal, once you understand that where you are is where you are, and it doesn't matter where you are, you can get to anywhere you want to be from where you are anytime, then you stop worrying about where somebody might take you. You just don't worry about it. So what if she makes you sad for a minute? You know what to do. And in time, in not very much time, she will begin saying things to you like, I feel better when I'm with you than anybody. And I know I still complain a lot, but I don't complain as much when I'm with you as when I'm with others. And I don't quite know why that is. And she'll begin saying, I so look forward to being with you. And not like them. I don't really like being with them, but I so look forward to being with you. And about the time that she begins saying things like that, you can begin telling her what your secret is. And that's why we're encouraging you got to train the way you look, so that when you look at her, it's beneficial what she sees. Now let's go back to what we talked about earlier, because this is so appropriate to this. So this teacher sees this little child who has a debilitating disease. And it's so apparent that he cannot take his eyes from it and wishes to help her overcome it. But his biggest concern, your word too, with her, is that she is shy beyond shy, and she will hardly even look up and have a human interaction with anyone. And when we explain to him that the reason she doesn't look up is because she doesn't like what she gets back. Now this is a dramatic, exaggerated example of what you're talking about. But when you see someone, when someone has spent a long time convincing you that they are sad and that they are justified in it until you are actually convinced that it is true, so that when you look at them, that's what you see, now they have rendered you incapable of being of any real value to them. And so the real value that you provide anyone is when you maintain your unconditional connection to who you are, which takes work. In other words, it's easy to just look out and see something and have a knee-jerk response to it. It's not so easy to look out and see something and have a knee-jerk response to it and give birth to what you really want and then train yourself into what you really want while this knee-jerk responsing thing is still knee-jerk responsing all around you. In other words, it takes some doing to hold yourself here when this is flapping around in such visual appearance here. But you're giving her less of you than is really potentially there. So then you gotta say, for her sake and for yours, but it's for your sake that we want you to do it for, you gotta say, I've got to find another way of approaching this. So you have your experience with her, whatever it is, and you let it play out however it does, because once it gets rolling, it's gonna play out. But you say to yourself all along, you say, I'm gonna write about this. This is one of those that I'm gonna deal with. I'm going to close the vibrational gap on this one. I'm going to apply every process in the book. I'm going to close the vibrational gap on this one. And then you say, I love being with you mostly. And next time we get together, it's going to be really, really good. That's a promise you say to her. And if she's curious about that, what do you mean? Well, she will be. Well, what? Then you say, because nothing is more important to me than to feel good. And when you're sad, it's really, really hard. So before we get back together, I'm going to train myself into feeling good even when you're sad. Now that might shock her a little bit. And then look her square in the eyes and say, I'm going to do it for both of us. I'm going to do it for both of us. And as you continue to play that game, we promise you she'll come there. In other words, we can feel from the vibrational essence that you're projecting about her that this is the true nature of who she is. You see, it's as much of an anomaly for her. You say she's been sad all of her life. Well, what that really means, if you really want to know, she has strong, strong desire, and she feels out of control. And you're learning the control, and you can teach it to her, and she's just going to love it. Imagine what it's going to be like when you get this down and you start projecting this way of being in a consistent enough way that she begins to recognize what's really going on, and she begins to apply it, and she begins to get positive results from it. Imagine where this relationship that is already very good, imagine where it can go. Yeah. Imagine the fun that you can have, and imagine the stories that she'll tell your children. Imagine as she gets it and then teaches through the clarity of her example. Everyone wants to feel good. And when someone who really wants to feel good and has figured out how to feel good is a determined mentor in their experience, there is no greater gift than that. Desire that you are focusing amidst resistance that is still present. In other words, through the meditation and through the directing your thoughts about what you want. You see, let's back up just a little bit and start in this way. We've been saying that if your car is going 5 miles an hour and you hit a tree, it's not as much problem as if your car is going 100 miles an hour and hit a tree. So sometimes in the beginning of deliberately applying thought, you can get out of balance in the sense that you goose up your desire disproportionate to your ability to allow. So what really happened here is that you increased your desire as you were focusing on what you wanted. You were meditating on these things that you wanted. You summoned more energy than your vibrational stance could allow easily. Now, the very good news is that your desire was strong enough, your focus was strong enough that you pulled it off. But you pulled it off in discomfort. And the answer to your question is you do not have to experience the pain in that, but the pain is an indication that you are pushing through some resistance, you see. Often this happens when people are impatient about wanting to make things happen. We notice that, and we say that the rule of thumb is be as specific as you can be in your visualizing, with as specific as you can be and still feel good. In other words, when you try to make something happen before you're really ready to make it happen, but you really want it to happen before you're ready to make it. It's what we meant earlier when we said someone who really, really wants a relationship and they want it now. They're just sick and tired of being without someone and they really, really want it. So they meditate on having a relationship and having it now. And their desire to have the relationship is so strong, the universe will bring them one, but it will be a painful relationship because they didn't clean up their vibration before they demanded that it come. And so what we're really wanting to say to you is that during your meditations, if you can just apply one statement and mean it as you say it, all things in perfect time. In other words, universe, I know that you have broader view, and I know that you know everything that I want. I know that you know what's waiting for me in vibrational escrow. I know you know what my vibrational state of allowing is. I'm working to bring myself into vibrational alignment with what I'm wanting. So yield to me as much as is possible in a comfortable way. And that's the way it will come to you. Really, it is. That those are the best words that you could have spoken about it. Trying too hard. Trying, not trusting that the universe is going to lay it out in a way and get it done. So we call it micromanaging, getting overly involved, trying to do too much with action. For heaven's sakes, you were going to do the remodeling yourself. You were so determined to do it, you see. You get what you think about whether you want it or not. So when you think about the van that you want, but you say, I don't want it to be red, what the universe hears is red van.
Okay.
So what you want to do is you want to talk about what you do want, not push about. You see, in this universe that is all about vibration and all about energy, it's attraction based, which means there's no exclusion. When you see this thing you want and you give your attention to it, you include it in your vibration. When you see this thing you don't want and you shout no at it, you include it in your vibration. So shouting no is just a way of saying yes to things you don't want. It's a bit like Esther in the days that the first answering machines came into being. And Esther bought an answering machine, but she kept forgetting to turn it on. So she made a sign and put it on the door into the garage that said, turn on the answering machine, which worked for a day or two, but pretty soon the sign just looked like the door. In other words, it lost its impact. And so what happens as you listen more and more, it becomes sort of ludicrous. Don't you find it almost hysterical how they say to you, here is a remedy for this, and then they say da 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 da.
Yes,
but it could cause this and this and this and this and this. Blindness, constipation, vomiting, dizziness.
All of them.
And then Esther says, ooh, yummy, give me some of that. In other words, who wouldn't want that? In other words, you begin to make fun of it. Who wouldn't want all of this bonus stuff that comes along with that, you see? And so in time, it's beginning to have a sort of backlash because you are so indoctrinated with it that it is no longer having the impact that it did when those threats and scares were new. Your war on terror will begin to be the same way in time.
Yeah, so if you're
as your own personal experience does not balance with the representation that they are giving you.